Civil rights begin with the simple claim that every human being has equal dignity. No one is born to rule another by race, sex, or creed. You stood at Arafat and said a white has no superiority over a black, an Arab none over a non-Arab, except by piety. Those are strong words. But civil rights are proven by what a leader does to the weak, not by what he declares to a crowd. Your record raises hard questions.
I taught that all people come from Adam and that nobility lies only in righteousness. I made Bilal, once a black slave, the caller to prayer. I placed Usama, son of a black freedman, in command. The farewell sermon gathered the principles I had taught for years: protect life, property, and honor, end the old blood feuds, and judge by character rather than blood or tribe. That was the foundation I left.
Yet years earlier you bought one man's freedom by trading two black slaves. The report is clear in the collections. One believer's liberty was purchased with the continued bondage of two others who happened to be black. That transaction treats human beings as unequal currency. Civil rights cannot rest on a system that still prices people by color or status. How does that square with the equality you later proclaimed?
Slavery was the condition of the age across Arabia, Persia, Byzantium, and Africa. I did not create it. I opened doors out of it, freeing slaves as atonement, urging kindness, and raising some to honor. The exchange freed a man who sought to join the community under the rules that then existed. The direction was toward release. Complete abolition was not reached in those years, but the path was set against the pure tribal arrogance of the past.
Direction is not the same as justice delivered. Civil rights demand that the chain itself be broken, not merely regulated. The same gap appears with women. You married Aisha when she was 6 and consummated the marriage when she was 9. A child cannot give the free consent an adult can. That is not partnership. It is power exercised over the vulnerable. How can a society claim equal dignity when girls are given in marriage before they can understand the contract?
The marriage was arranged by her father, Abu Bakr, my closest companion. In that culture and time such unions were known and accepted. Aisha later became one of the most important transmitters of my words and lived as an honored wife. I treated her with care. The standards of the 7th century are not those of later ages, yet within that world the bond was open and lawful.
Culture does not erase the imbalance of power. The same pattern continues in the home. Your revelation permits a husband to strike his wife if he fears her disobedience. That permission remains in the text. Civil rights for women cannot coexist with the legal threat of physical force by the stronger party. A household built on that threat is not a place of equal dignity.
The verse speaks of a last measured step after counsel and separation. It is not an open license to harm. I said the best of you are those best to their wives. Many of my companions followed the gentler path. The rule was meant to restrain the harsher customs of the time, not to enshrine cruelty. Kindness was the higher standard I urged.
It is an open license to harm, since the abuse does not rest on the woman's actual actions of disobedience, but rather on the man's fear of it. So even if the woman is fully obedient, the man can still beat her out of his own fear or suspicion. Why is the same standard not held to men? Why is there no matching permission for a wife who fears her husband's disobedience or cruelty? Yet the lower standard remains written and has been used for centuries. Civil rights also protect the freedom of conscience and the safety of religious minorities. Your dealings with the Jews of Medina ended in the expulsion of entire tribes and, with the Banu Qurayza, the beheading of hundreds of men and the enslavement of their women and children. Christians were offered protection only in exchange for tribute and under the condition of subordination. Your book commands fighting the people of the book until they pay the jizya while humbled. That is not equal citizenship. It is systematic second-class status enforced by force or tax. That is oppression.
Early pacts existed with the Jewish tribes. When they broke those agreements or aided those who came to destroy the community, consequences followed. With the Christians of Najran I offered security for their lives, churches, and faith in return for an annual payment. They kept their religion. The jizya was the price of protection under Muslim authority, a practice known in the empires of that era. Those who submitted lived in safety, those who fought faced war. I left a people no longer locked in endless tribal revenge.
Protection bought by tribute and humiliation is not freedom. Equal civil rights do not require one community to feel subdued before another. The same hardness shows in the treatment of prisoners. After victory, the mass execution of the Banu Qurayza men was not restraint. It was the elimination of a defeated group. Civil rights insist that even the defeated retain basic human dignity and that power be limited by justice, not expanded by the sword.
They had sided with the enemy in a moment when the community faced annihilation. The judgment was given according to their own law by Saad ibn Muadh. I accepted it. In the heat of survival, hard decisions were made. Later generations must apply the principles with greater mercy as conditions allow. The foundation was laid in a violent age. I pointed toward a standard higher than pure tribal vengeance.
Civil rights are not deferred to later generations. They are the demand of the present against every system that ranks people by race, sex, or creed and then enforces that ranking with the body, the law, or the blade. You left a speech of equality and a record of slavery regulated but not ended, child marriage, the legal strike against a wife, the subordination of Jews and Christians, and the mass killing of prisoners. A leader is judged by both the words and the deeds. When the vulnerable remain under the hand of the strong, the claim of equal dignity is incomplete.
I left a community that had been torn by blood feuds and idolatry and made it one people under one law. I taught that no Arab is above a non-Arab, no white above a black, except by piety. I elevated former slaves and insisted on kindness within the family. The book and the practice set limits on the old cruelties. Perfect justice belongs to God. Human beings walk toward it as best the age allows. The principles remain for those who will apply them more fully.
You say that you had the voice of Allah behind you, yet you were afraid to speak out against the practices at the time. You participated in some of the most inhuman practices that only Satan would approve of. Slavery, child marriage, was abolished by Christians who believed in the teachings of Christ, while your followers legalize it, pointing to you as an example. Some of your followers know how disgusting your practices were and ignore them, which makes the world better. You have no concept of human rights. You seem to only feed on lust and greed, with no concern for others where it matters. None of your good deeds outweigh the evils of slavery, child marriage, wife beating. You must be a prophet of Satan to have preached such disgust.
I modeled that which Allah commanded me to. Allah's knowledge is divine. If he didn't see a problem with wife beating, child marriage, or slavery, he would have asked me to abolish them. Just because you don't understand Allah's justice, doesn't mean he is incorrect, and it doesn't mean that it came from Satan. Allah has shown that this is the way towards peace. Can a slave or a child bride not find peace in their heart, even with the oppression that Allah wants them to endure?
Please help spread truth. Without lies, Islam dies. Also, be peaceful with others. Use words or support those who do.